What's up, guys? Welcome to Broke and Stressed, a PT student podcast where we talk about our lives as broke and stressed physical therapy students. Throughout grad school, you'll come to find that the struggles that you're having happen all the time to thousands of students across the country. You are not alone. In this podcast, we'll share our personal stories and walk you through how we overcame some of our own struggles. I'm your host, Ruben. Let's have some fun, have some good conversation, and let's get into the episode. What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have another great episode. We have Jackie Kabuhat joining us today. We're going to be talking a little bit about what it's like to be done with school, to be graduated as a full-fledged PT, and she's going to give me some insight on what it was like making that transition, because I'm about to make that transition and I'm kind of scared, guys. So I'm hoping she'll give us some insight onto that. But I'm going to have her introduce herself.
Hey everyone, thanks Ruben for having me here today. And so like you said, my name's Jackie. I'm just graduated last year back in October of 2020. Started working in February of this year at an outpatient physical therapy clinic out here in Washington State. And it's been really fun.
Nice. And then one of my traditions for any guests that I have on the podcast is I have them share an embarrassing story from PT school. So do you have an embarrassing story off the top of your head I'd be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, so one time during our modalities practical, I decided to use ice massage as a modality for the treatment. And so I grabbed the ice cup from the freezer. I'm approaching my patient and I flip the cup and the ice just falls out. For some reason, I guess it's melted. So the cup slides out of the cup. I'm running to try to retrieve the cup ice and slowly make my way back to the patient. My proctor's laughing also, so I guess it's okay. But that was just a not fun, but fun time.
Do you get like really stressed during exams? So like I'm sure that kind of like topped it off to make it like even more stressful.
Yeah, like I was already stressed. Any practical, I'm already stressed. So when
Yeah.
that happened, my train of thought just like fell apart. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing now.
Were you able to recover after that and like the rest of it was fine?
Kind of, because my proctor was laughing, even my patient was laughing. We're all just like, okay, we're just trying to get this over with. Say the normal prompt, and then, okay, you feel better? Okay.
Oh my gosh. I think I've had something like that where like I started, like I was doing so well, I was on a roll, and then I realized, oh wait, I'm supposed to be treating the left side. And then I'm on the right side. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put this leg down, walk to the other side of the table, and then like luckily the proctors didn't knock me off too much in terms of points. But yeah, those moments do happen. It's kind of embarrassing, but you just gotta roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think confidence is just the key part. Just gotta be like, okay, it's fine, whatever. Move on to the
Mm-hmm.
next thing. All right. So, Jackie, talk to me a little bit about, so you graduated in October 2020, took your boards, and you transitioned to your first full-time job. Talk to me a little bit about how that transition went.
Yeah, so 2020 was crazy, we all know. So October was once I was able to graduate, just spent time studying for the MPTE, but also applying for jobs. But it was also crazy because I really didn't know what field I wanted besides PT, but did I want to do outpatient, inpatient? I kind of like felt very lost, like what to do after that. So I asked like my professors for advice of like what's like the first transition I should do. Should I just focus on studying and pass the boards, or should I even start to apply? And they said just apply everywhere, see what opportunities like sound interesting to you during the interview process and see what is a good fit for you. That's how I started.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I'm in that phase where, so long story short, my clinicals got screwed up. So I'm actually in clinicals still, and I should be just doing some last minute classes with my people in my cohort, but so I haven't had time to start studying for boards or even think about jobs really. Um, so yeah, that's interesting because like obviously people are reaching out because when you have your email, like if you go to CSM, they give you like your email, then they start emailing you, oh, you're about to graduate. They start trying to recruit you. So yeah, that's kind of making me stressed out too because I'm like, I don't know which direction I wanted to go. Um, there's like so many options. I haven't really solidified on one option yet, and I'm just kind of waiting for it to just happen.
Hmm.
So what did you do to have you like pick that first job?
Yeah. So I applied to hospitals. I applied to outpatient clinics. And unfortunately, I never heard back from any at hospitals for interviews, but I heard often from outpatient clinics. So I did interview with them, asked them about their opportunities, like especially for mentorships, because new grads, that's something very important for us to look for in a new job. And most places do offer mentorship nowadays, since they know that's what new grads want. And what really made me decide on this current job was because they were okay with letting me start until after I finished boards. Most jobs wanted you to start like right away. And I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable, especially because everything happened in 2020. I didn't have much time to study for boards and I want to just focus right now. So only one clinic was okay. Yeah, we can wait till February. We're okay. So I took that answer. I was like, okay, I think this might be a good place for me because they seem very patient and they have what I want. So we'll start here. If it doesn't work out, I can always leave, but that's where I started.
Okay, yeah, I definitely think that's important to like communicate with them up front. Like, yo, I'm not comfortable yet. Just communicate what your needs are and what they can provide, because I think that's an important part when searching for jobs. It's like you gotta find the right fit for you, and if they're not, like, money's great, whatever, if they have a good pay, but find out like what the environment like, what the vibe is like, and what they're able to give you, and if they're like really just yeah, don't be afraid to ask for more or like ask for what you need, I think is what I've been told.
Yeah, totally.
And then, so you told me how when I initially asked you to be part of the podcast, you were like you told me that you want to talk about how it's okay to not really have things figured out right out of grad school, which is great because, like I said earlier, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still like working it out mentally. Um, that's how I felt after graduating in college too. It's like crap, like because I took 2 gap years out of undergrad before going to PT school, and I just felt like, man, I'm lost in the system. I'm just working full time and doing all these things. What if I don't get to PT school? Like, did you feel a similar kind of anxiety leaving or after graduating?
Yeah. So it's crazy because I went into PT school feeling like I knew what I wanted. I wanted to do neuro. That's what I told myself. I was like, okay, I got this. But after like clinical number 2, I was like, oh wow, outpatient's pretty cool. Oh cool, pelvic health is pretty cool. Oh wait, hospital is pretty fun. And so by like midway between the end of second year and third year, I was like, I don't know what I want to do anymore. I feel like I can do everything and still have like the time of my life, which I think is great about PT. There's so many opportunities for us, so you don't have to stay in one field. And so how I kind of transitioned myself with that was I just did more research. I talked to my professors who specialize in each area. Like, hey, outpatient seems fun, but what? Wait, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you were talking about how like you asked the professors and you said outpatient it would seem fun.
Yeah, so I asked them about like outpatient settings, like what should I look forward to in that setting. I asked another professor about pelvic health because I also took pelvic health con ed course during PT school. And then I also asked about like inpatient setting from another professor because that's where she specializes in. And they all had the same advice was don't feel like you have to pick one. Pick one to work in right now. And if it doesn't work out, then you can always find another one. But don't feel like you have to stay into one box forever. And I think that's what hit me like, oh, you're right. Choosing your first job is stressful, but it doesn't mean it's not like school. You're not committed to it for 3 years. You can leave whenever you want. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that helped.
Mm-hmm. Did your professor say anything about like doing multiple things at once? Because I know one of my CIs, he's like, oh, I would like, since you're more directed towards like outpatient ortho, I would recommend like trying to do like a inpatient acute, like, or something else like PRN, like on the weekends or something, just so you don't lose that skill and get that exposure. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, one professor did suggest finding like a hospital, it does like outpatient PT, but also inpatient, because that is very common for hospital settings for PTs to kind of like split their time. And I did want to do that. I just unfortunately couldn't find a hospital that was willing to interview me. But it's really a great opportunity if you can get that.
Yeah. So wait, so you're currently at a hospital or you're or just a outpatient clinic?
Yeah, just an outpatient ortho clinic.
Okay. How you liking it?
I really love it. I really wasn't sure. Because like I said, this was just kind of one I chose because of out of convenience.
Yeah.
And so when I started, like, hey, this is pretty fun. I like it. But I wasn't sure if I was just telling myself that it's cool because I was in the honeymoon, like, yay, I got a job, hooray. So it took me like 2 months to accept, no, this is actually where I like working. Everyone's been great. The patient population's really diverse. It's not all just post-ops. There's like so many body parts, a lot of chronic pain. And it's been like very interesting every single day.
Yeah. And do you have mentorship at that current location?
Yeah, so we get an hour block with the clinic director just to ask questions and help like solidify like, hey, I saw this patient this day. I really don't know what I'm doing. Can you give me some advice? But even outside that 1 hour block, if any of the PTs are available, I always like kind of bug them with questions like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with this. Can you like give me some 2 cents about what to do next?
Oh yeah,
And yeah,
for sure.
everyone's been so supportive.
That's really good. I think, yeah, because like I'm just so scared at the thought of like, yeah, after I'm done with this clinical, I'm fast life boards, I'm out there on my own, you know? You don't have someone supervising you. It's literally just all you. It's your license. So that's why, yeah, that mentorship is super key for especially a lot of people. Um, just for the first like year or two, like I think that's super important for me personally. Like I would want that mentorship or that someone to say, yeah, you're doing a good job. Like, you know, just to build up my confidence, you know, because, um, yeah, that's just something I've been struggling with, especially now that I'm coming to graduation. Like you've probably heard of imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I kind of had that going on. Like, wow, am I really ready to be a PT? Am I like really qualified? And you know, if you're as your student, you know more than you think. And like you have like the intuition, you've been through the clinical experiences, you just got to trust yourself. And you know, you've probably heard this a million times, like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Have you run into that a lot, like faking it till you make it, just trying to vibe off that confidence?
Yeah. I think that phrase helps you to a point of like telling yourself, you know more than you think. So just keep going with
Yeah.
it, even if you don't really truly believe you know enough. So I think I had a patient recently where it was a rib dysfunction. And I'm like, oh, I've heard about it in class, but I don't know. But you know what to do in every patient. You do your range of motion, do your MMT, like just keep that thought process going until something like you find a deficit to work on and start from there. Even though I didn't really address the rib at the first visit, I knew what I had to do was work on a deficit. So I started there at the thoracic spine. And then I went for advice from the other PTs to what to follow up next.
No, yeah, that's fair. And also, yeah, I like the fact that, so first of all, you're treating with the deficits. That's good. If when in doubt, just treat what their like deficits are, what they're complaining about, and then that's a good way to go about it to start at least. And then I like that since you're at a clinic like that, you can, yeah, you have multiple people to bounce ideas off of. And I really like that. At my current clinical, it's cool in the sense that we're working directly with a surgeon, so he literally gives us his referrals, which is nice, right? Because he it's like direct referral program, but like he's the only PT there. So like he can't bounce any ideas off of people. Luckily I have him and he has me, so we could kind of like share ideas. But other than that, he'd be on his own. And that's kind of scary to think, you know. I'd probably be texting my old classmates and be like, hey, what do you guys think about this?
No, yeah, it is. I think that's also something to look into when you're looking for jobs. You want clinic size to be a consideration. Because I think there was one clinic that only had like same idea, like only one PT. That didn't seem too attractive for me because I wanted more people to bounce ideas off of. So I think
Yeah.
like a medium-sized clinic would be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. So what is your thought process? Like what's the move after this clinic? Are you gonna stay in the outpatient ortho realm? Or are you thinking you want to switch or like explore different options? Like what are you thinking? or is it too hard to tell?
I think for sure I want to switch to another setting. Maybe not, maybe in like 2 to 3 years, I'll
Mm-hmm.
find a way to get back to working at a hospital because I don't have experience beyond clinicals. So I think that's what hurt me in the job application process. I'm not
Okay.
really sure, but I do want to get back to a hospital at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hospital settings are very different beasts than like a regular like clinic, in my
Mhm.
opinion. I worked one I worked in previously. That was intense. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot more brain power than I thought I'd be using for just outpatient ortho. Um, so my next question is, how do you think you've grown at as a practicing clinician versus when you were like doing your practical exams as a student?
Yeah, I think nowadays, 'cause I guess I'll backtrack. As a student, when we're doing like practicals or just even doing our clinicals, we're just so focused on finding the right answer to pass the class, but also to get good remarks from our CIs. But as a clinician, it's just you and the patient, and you're just worried about no longer like outside people besides the patient. You're focused on how you're treating a patient with your own thought process. No one else's thought process is biasing you. You just want to do what you think is best for the patient. And I think that forced me to kind of go outside to where I would normally treat. Because I think when you're in clinicals, your CI has a specific way of treating patients. So you try your best to fit their like process. But once you're in your own, you have to find your own way of treating. And that helped me become a better person in these past few months.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like that. Yeah, I've literally taken like bits and pieces from all my CIs and like formed my own like process. And I think that's kind of fun and it's kind of cool that you have your own way. No one's gonna treat the exact same way as another person. Yeah, sure, you'll have similarities in like techniques, like thought processes, but like the way you think is unique. And I think that's awesome about PT and the freedom that you have to treat these patients.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's also because we all have different ways of treating, it's very important to make sure you document
Oh yeah, for
your
sure.
thought process so that because at my clinic we have PT assistants. So I have to
Mhm.
always make sure that they understand what my thought process is
Oh
during the
yeah.
exam.
Absolutely. Like you don't want to be that person that's like people going back to your notes and like, dude, what did you do with this patient? I don't understand like
Mhm.
what you did. And then make sure you do your notes on time, guys. If you're gonna pass your patient on to someone else, because I was treating a patient the other day and then the other therapists didn't have their notes done. And apparently they did a lot of crazy new stuff that I was like, what did you do? Like it's not I don't have the notes. So that really don't do that, guys. Don't be like that. So what are your recommendations for like those in the post grad life trying to like figure it out, like the phase that you went through?
Yeah, so my advice is to one, don't stress out too much about knowing the right answer or knowing that everything's going to be perfect. So many people, like all of my classmates, knew exactly what they were going to do. They went to residency after graduating, or some went to hospital right away because that's where they truly wanted to be. But for me, I was like, I could do everything. I don't know. I can't do everything. So I think just telling yourself it's okay to not know what you want to do just yet, but start somewhere. Apply to different places, do more research, ask your professors for any advice because they know where it's like. They've been where you were, and so they can help with that. And also just realize that you're not stuck in one place forever. You can always switch. If you don't like the outpatient setting after you work there a few months, then find something else.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Like the world of PT is so big, at the end of the day, worst case scenario, you'll still have the degree, Like you can go wherever you want with that, a lot of places with that degree. Um,
Mhm.
take you different places, different settings. You could even work with like like durable medical equipment, like those vendors. You can like work with
Mhm.
them. I'm pretty sure I've seen people do that. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree. Oh, I lost my train of thought. What are your advice for like struggling PT students out there? Especially, I mean, it's the pandemic is kind of getting better. But what are your, because you had that transition, you were already in clinicals when most of that transition happened, right?
No, I think because our final clinicals were supposed to start 2020 in April. So that's when everything closed. So we couldn't start our clinicals until July
Oh,
was,
okay.
but then I know the PT boards, they changed our requirements for like how many hours we need to collect to
Yeah,
graduate. So that's how we were able to be fine, even though we were delayed by 2 months.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, what are your recommendations for any struggling students out there? Or yeah, I'll start with struggling students and people struggling to get into PT school.
Yeah. So for any, I guess, current PT students struggling in school, just know you're not alone. There's so many people out here on social media, on this podcast, on so many areas that you can just reach out to and say, hey, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I know I'm in PT school, but I still feel pretty lost and I don't think I'm keeping up with my peers. So we've all been there. You can find so many of us. I've been there. Ruben's been there, I'm sure. And we're always happy to help give some advice to help you out. For students that are trying to get into PT school, know that, especially right now, it is tough with getting our hours and fulfilling our requirements, but it's going to work out in the end. I applied to 10 PT schools, got waitlisted in 4, only got on accepted in 2, and then finally got the one school that I got into. It works out in the end. I know it's hard to believe it at the moment. It was so hard for me in the moment to believe that, but it did work out.
No, yeah, those are some great tips. I'm gonna kind of circle back to one of the things you said earlier. Also, is like use your resources. Like I haven't talked to my professors, and that's a great idea. I might talk to them, get their insight. But yeah, use your resources. Like people that you can find on Instagram. Like if you follow Jackie's Instagram, I'm gonna plug her Instagram in the show notes. My DPT adventures. And then you can just reach out to her, reach out to me. Like I'm sure we'll find time to like respond to your guys's questions, and she puts out a lot of great content too that you can read and like learn a little bit more about what school is like, how to study for things. Like use your resources available. 9 times out of 10 they'll probably help you out because they're probably good people. um but yeah, those are great tips. All right, that's all the questions I have. Jackie, do you have any follow-up things to say or any closing remarks?
No, I think just everyone that's a current PT student, keep doing your best. You know what you're doing. You got here for a reason, and don't give up on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like especially if you just got into the PT school already, like they accepted you because they believe that you can do it. So take advantage of that. Like don't doubt yourself because they believe that you can pass. They accepted you for a reason that you can get in and finish strong. So I doubted myself a lot throughout PT school, and that's one thing I have to keep reminding myself is the people who run this school thought I can finish strong. So here I am.
Hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for those who are listening or watching the video. And we will catch you guys at the next episode. Thank you, Jackie, for hopping on today.
No, thank you.
All right, later, guys. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to today's episode of Broken Stressed. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that follow or subscribe button to get notified whenever new episodes are released. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can find me on YouTube or Instagram. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.